Welcome everybody to the May 7th, 2018 edition of the Ephrom Josine Show. I'm Ephrom Josine, back from the weekend to cover your news. Now, some of you may be familiar with the name Don Blankenship, either as the convicted felon who ignored coal mining regulations and as such 29 of his employees died, or as the West Virginia Senate candidate who released an amazing ad recently. Both are correct, by the way, because they're the same Don Blankenship. However, don't worry, Don. All is forgiven in the heart of this liberal, because you made an ad so powerful it can convert anyone into a Republican. Now, I would just like to state everything he says in the ad is true. Okay? You may not know the genius I'm talking about, but don't worry, I'll fill you in. First off, Swamp Captain Mitch McConnell, who, by the way, Don Blankenship is not running against, partly because McConnell's term doesn't expire for another 2 years, and partly because he's in the wrong state, we're just gonna ignore that. Because most of this ad is basically an attack on Mitch McConnell. For basically no reason. He has created millions of jobs for China people. Not just any people, China people specifically. While doing so, Mitch has gotten rich. That was very clever, by the way, Don. In fact, his China family, not his normal family, his China family. Okay, if you don't know what he's referring to there, Mitch McConnell's current wife, Ellaline Chow, I'm not entirely sure how to pronounce it. Ellaline Chow. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how it's pronounced. Is an immigrant from Asia. And he's just sitting there going that she's a China person, and she's part of his China family. Has given him tens of millions of dollars. Mitch's swamp people are now running false negative ads about me. Now, if it was false positive ads, I assume he wouldn't have a problem. They are also childishly calling me despicable. I mean, where would they get that idea, Don? You only led to the death of 29 of your workers and mentally ill. The war to drain the swamp and create jobs for West Virginia people, not West Virginians, West Virginia people, has begun. I will beat Joe Manchin and ditch Cocaine Mitch for he's sake of the kids. None of that last sentence was awful, by the way. But Cocaine Mitch doesn't even make any sense. Was there a scandal I didn't know about where Mitch McConnell was caught doing cocaine? I don't know. I think his father-in-law had cocaine on a boat or something. Which, on a side note, could you imagine Mitch McConnell on cocaine? Oh! It would be the greatest thing of all time. And actually make me like him more. Okay, in some more news, I know I've said in the past I can't take the NRA seriously, but they continue to prove that I can only take them negative seriously at this point. Oliver North, key figure in Iran-Contra scandal to become NRA president. Now, if you do not know what the Iran-Contra scandal was, more or less, the basic idea was during the Reagan administration, a lot of people in said administration, including Oliver North, in fact, he's typically targeted as one of the main ones, sold weapons to Iran and then gave the money to death squads in Nicaragua called the Contras, who were more or less holding a military rebellion. Even though Oliver North was held under trial, and for that matter, there's some evidence he lied under oath, doesn't matter, he is still a free man despite the fact he committed treason, and is now currently the NRA's next president. Now, in response, many top recipients of NRA money have simply come out against this. For instance, #1 recipient in the Senate, John McCain, has pointed out that Iran has, quote, literally been getting away with murder, while #1 recipient in the House, French Hill, says that it was a bad deal for the American people that put our safety and security at risk, especially our nation's allies such as Israel. Wait a minute. No, sorry. That's what they said on the Iran nuclear deal, which was actually much harder on Iran than, selling them weapons. Mainly, the Iran nuclear deal kept them from getting more weapons while directly selling them weapons. Well, you get the idea. So let's actually read their real statements on the NRA's new president. That was a good read. What makes it even better is the same day this story broke, President Donald Trump called out former Secretary of State John Kerry, the guy who looks like a weird combination of Trump and Netanyahu, for, quote, shadow diplomacy with Iran to try and save the Iran deal that he calls, quote, possibly illegal. May I just say, if that's what he thinks of John Kerry, it's a good thing he has no way buddies with North. For instance, when Donald Trump tried to make a second NSA that would watch the first NSA, I'm not kidding, he tried to do that, he happened to not pick Oliver North. Okay, I'm directly lying to you. Of course he picked Oliver North. Otherwise, why would I be bringing this up? Just great. Amazing. So to review, if you try and keep a U.S. enemy from getting weapons, you're a dirty traitor. But if you sell weapons to a U.S. enemy, why, you too can not only have a role within the president's administration, but also be the president of one of the biggest Republican lobbying groups in the United States. Amazing. Amazing the double standards of these people. Okay, now on to our next story. Some of you may have heard the Boy Scouts are now dropping the term boy and allowing girls to join the former Boy Scouts. Now, this enraged Courtney Kristoff. You may remember her as that columnist over at Louder with Crowder who lied, just downright lied, during the entire Alfie Evans thing. She kept saying it was single-payer healthcare that killed the kid and never mentioned Italy's single-payer system wanting to take the kid for treatment. But she was angry at this and wrote an article, Opinion, Why the Left Despises Men and Women Behaving Like Men and Women. Segments of the extreme left, now here's a little tip here if you're a conservative columnist, always use the word extreme. That way no one can call you out for strawmanning, because those are extreme fragments. But let's continue on. Are actively seeking the destruction of both masculinity and femininity. How else are we supposed to interpret the exhaustive list of preferred gender pronouns? As people wanting to be called other things? Like this isn't even a big issue. The societal shaming of successful men that doesn't exist, and stay-at-home mothers, which I'll give you does somewhat exist in extreme. Again, you say it extreme, so I can't call you strawmanning. Amazing. It goes on to, well, actively strawman for a little bit until we get to the reason this article was actually written. Context. Today, the Boy Scouts have banned the term boy so as to allow everyone to enter the Scouts. I was never a Girl Scout. I wasn't interested in what the Girl Scouts had to offer. Sounds like I wasn't alone. Some girls are interested in learning what the boys are learning. Okay, so allow them in. And listen to how she describes the Boy Scouts, by the way. Useful life skills that don't involve standing outside Albertsons trying to guilt people into a carbon sugar binge. Well, if it's that bad, why do you care if it's gone, is what I'm asking. There's also this bit, where she sarcastically says, the solution was to dismantle the Boy Scouts safe space to allow girls to enter. Oh, so I take it Steven Crowder, and Louder with Crowder in general, is in favor of safe spaces, right? Let's see what other articles they have on the topic real quick. Okay, keep in mind this is just the first page of results. Adam Corella, Dennis Prager joined forces to knock down college safe spaces. UC Berkeley students demand segregated safe spaces for equality? Yes, University of Chicago blasts safe spaces in letter to students. Ralph Nader slams safe spaces and trigger warnings, misses key irony. Black Lives Matter blasts Liberty for not segregating safe spaces. Hilarious! South Park destroys body shaming and liberal safe spaces. Do I need to go on with the hypocrisy here? But fine, okay, let's at least see what masculinity and femininity are. From the article, quote, I've not defined what masculinity and femininity are because definitions for both are broad by necessity. Individual men and women are special for being individuals. So essentially, you're not even going to define this great thing you keep talking about that the left is trying to destroy. But we should believe it's great because it is like totes for realsies. I'm Ephrom, and good night.